Hello, this is an Astroneer tutorial on how to automate scrap production. So the first thing I want to say is while you can fully automate soil to scrap production, it gives you terrible yields and you probably don't want to do it unless you just don't want to deal with scrap production at all. The reason we can now fully automate it with the automation update is one, we have auto arms which can put stuff into shredders, so that's great. And then we have small printers which can actually print tier 1 objects, which the auto arms can pick up, and by themselves, so not from your backpack. So the only objects that you can actually do are the new sensors and the button repeater. Everything else turns into a packaged object which you cannot scrap. So what you have to do, and the other thing that you're going to need to fully automate scrap production is sphalerite, so zinc. So you're going to need an auto extractor pumping out zinc and just dumping a whole bunch of it into to combine with your soil to make your scrap. So this setup right here is just kind of a basic walkthrough. You have your sphalerite coming out. You take this auto arm, puts it on this smelter, turns it into zinc. The zinc gets turned into a button repeater, which gets picked up by this auto arm and shredded. So this is fully automatic. It'll turn your basically minerals into scrap, but it doesn't have anything to do with soil. So to do soil, we have this object. So right here, this setup, we have sphalerite. We pull it in, we smelt it. But on this side, we also have our input for soil, so you can just dump a bunch of soil here. We have a soil centrifuge. You can hook this up to some sort of timer to trigger this, as well as the small printer. This is making quartz. So quartz is pretty much the worst thing you can make besides graphite. Graphite is even worse than quartz. So if you were doing not 100% automatic of turning soil into scrap, even with resin, you get 1 scrap per canister. With quartz, you get half a scrap per canister of soil. And with graphite, it's even worse, and you get 1/4 of a scrap per canister. So this just uses the zinc and the quartz to make storage sensors. So you can also make graphite and zinc to make battery sensors, but that's just even worse. So if you're going to use this method, you should use quartz. You can also make set up. You can also make power sensors. So power sensors is malachite, which is, so that's sphalerite. Malachite, yes, malachite and zinc. So copper and zinc both get smelted down, printed out. You put a timer on this printer, and then that gets shredded. So if you have just a ridiculous amount excess of copper and zinc, you can use that method. So and again, this method is okay if you just have a ridiculous amount of zinc, but if you want to get any real amount of scrap out of your soil, what you're going to need to do is do something like this. So this is a kind of fully working production model. It's got, let's see if I can turn this on. It's got this set up. It's got this set up, so there's a timer in the back that's starting this printer. We have a soil centrifuge that's running off a battery, so the battery, we have a 2 power coming in. The battery is auto starting the soil centrifuge over and over, and then this is triggering the timer every now and then for the 2 small printers here. They build medium storages. This auto arm puts it in a nice place to just to store them while you do that, and then you just drop them on the floor, open them up, and shred them. So this is kind of a pretty quick way to do it. This only gives you 1 scrap per canister, so it's not the most efficient. The next one up is with clay. So you're making drill mod drill mod ones. You got your soil. We got another battery started soil centrifuge, and then it goes onto the smelter and then goes into this canister. So from the canister, what you can do is either because you have to use the backpack printer, which is unfortunate, it's a little slower. You can pull this stuff off, and then if you open your backpack, if your backpack is completely full, what happens is the drill mod just drops to the ground and that arm grabs it. So this works nicely if you just want to stand here and grab the scrap, grab the ceramic out of here and just sit here for a little while doing that. So this is the next tier up. This will give you 1.5 scrap per canister, and it's pretty automatic by itself. And so again, this takes the drill mods, put them here, and then this will grab them and dump them into the shredder where you get scrap. So for the next up, so the most complicated way to do it, but also the most bang for your buck, is to make winches. So what we have here in this setup, we have a soil centrifuge that makes resin. We have a soil centrifuge that makes organic, and then we have a chemistry lab that turns that into rubber. So you're going to make rubber and tungsten, and you're going to print out winches. So this is going to be the same thing. Right now this is kind of what I use in my survival at the moment. I have a button that turns on the soil centrifuges and the trade platform over there. So with winches, you can, with the 2 soil centrifuges going, you make 8 rubber basically, and then 2 launches of the trade platform, you get 8 tungsten, so you get 8 winches. That gives you 20 scrap total when you scrap all those winches, but unfortunately 12 have to go back into the system to get more tungsten. So this is the most efficient way to do it. It's also the most complicated. It'll give you 2 scrap per soil canister. So just a basic explanation of this side. So this side makes the rubber, puts it here. Over here we have, when you scrap stuff, you get the scrap comes off here. This will pull the scrap off there and puts it on the trade platform to be traded for wolframite. This auto arm will put it on the smelter, and then you'll get tungsten, and then that can print it, and then it'll print out. It'll print out in this area. This auto arm will deposit it on there, and then you just open it up on the ground and shred it and kind of go back into the system and pull off any of the scrap you want from there. This I have automated in this kind of monstrosity over here. This is the as close as I can get to fully automated soil centrifuge or soil to scrap production. So the only thing that you have to do is this line, you open up the winches along here, you shred all the winches, and that's all you have to do. This will automatically dump your excess 8 scrap into this canister over here, and everything else is completely automated. So how does this work? Here we go. So how this works is, right here is your drop-off point. So you can get rid of this RTG, but you have your drop-off soil here. It deposits the canisters onto here, soil canisters onto here, and this auto arm picks it up and puts them on this platform. This makes sure you have 4 centrifuges. So the way this works is it ensures that you have 4 full canisters over here, and then over here you have 12 scrap complete. So that gives you everything you need to make 8 rubber and 8 tungsten to make your 8 winches. So how that works is, this is an AND gate, or it's a double AND gate, which I'll talk about in a different video. this AND gate ensures that both the soil has to be full and the scrap has to be full before it triggers everything to run off, and both have to be empty before it starts filling them again. So again, this setup, once we have 4 here and 12 scrap, this triggers. It'll pull off the soil with the auto arm, put them on here, which fills up these. This is a timer that ensures that it has time to pull off all of these and put them on here before these things trigger. Once these things trigger, then you get your rubber there, builds a rubber, puts it over here. It's like the other one. On this side, we have, this is where the scrap, so there's 4 places to scrap objects. They get pulled onto this section here. So this is a semi-split resource separator. So what this does is you pull stuff off here, and it'll fill up this canister or this storage with 8 scrap before this will finally fill up with 12 scrap. Now, because you have 2 medium storage, that's 16 storage locations. So what you have to do is you have this set up here, which is set up for compound, which takes 4 compound, and when it needs to be 100% empty, it dumps it over here, and when it needs to be 100% full, it puts it here. So you're only really getting 12 scrap, and because it's filtered on either end, you only get 12 scrap off, and then the compound just gets recycled between it. Once we have the 12 scrap here and everything started again, the other side is doing soil. This is the auto trade platform launcher. So what this does is this is just an extra platform, so we ensure that once we have 6 scrap and 2 compound, it uses the same logic where it pulls 2 compound off and puts 2 compound on again, just so we have a 6 scrap here instead of 8 scrap before it launches, because the wolframite only needs 6 scrap to launch, and you can't put more scrap than is needed to launch, than the max needed to launch. So once this empties, it triggers this to launch, and then when it comes back, it fills up with the next 6 scrap and launches that as well. So and then once the wolframite comes back, this thing, this auto arm smelts it again, and then you get tungsten here, and then you get your rubber from the other side, and that makes your winches. So over here we have another AND gate. So with this AND gate, it's making sure that there is anything on here. So it's detecting if this is empty or not empty. If it is not empty, it lets this timer run. This is just to make sure that this timer is not just running constantly. And that timer triggers the small printer to make the winches. So the winches get pulled off by this and dumped onto here, and then just kind of get pulled off this way. So if you look here, each one has a winch on it. You can just unpackage them all. And if I were going to scrap this, you can stick them in the scrapper. Now let's just do that. So you can start scrapping them. There we go. Scrap. Just scrap it too. So you can start scrapping them, and then this pulls them off and starts filling all the containers up again. So this is each of these has an empty, not empty. So if this is empty, it turns on the auto arm, which pulls from the next. It pulls from the previous place and puts it on the next one. So it'll just fill them up again. So this is an easy way to kind of sort it out, so you just have to open it and scrap them again. So that gives you your scrap, and then the whole process starts over again. The only thing you have to do is open the winches and scrap them. So that's kind of the fully, as close to automated as possible, soil to scrap pipeline. Yeah. Thank you for watching.